I'd like to bring this meeting to order, the Village Villa Park Board of Trustees meeting, March 10th, 2025. Clerk Kornacki, please call the roll.
Trustee Alfano.
Here.
Trustee Cordova.
Here.
Trustee Corkery. Trustee Kozar.
Here.
Trustee Kumar.
Here.
Trustee Patrick.
Here.
President Kazone.
Here. Would we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together this evening. May we have meaningful discussions that will help us to assist our village in these trying times. Help us to make the decisions that will affect the staff, directors, and residents of Villa Park. Guide us through the challenges we face, and may we approach each other with respect and kindness as one group. In your name, amen. Okay, item 3 is amendments to the agenda. Do we have any proposed amendments? Okay, seeing none. Item 4, public comments on agenda items.
Yes, I have Bob Wagner, item 13B.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just briefly state that we appreciate the board's potential continuation of this policy of no mow May until Mother's Day, and it was the consensus of the commission to support this continuation of the policy. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bob.
Yes, Judy Worley regarding item 6A.
Yes, my question on the executive session, item 6A, can we get meeting minutes from that? Can we FOIA information?
No, not in an executive session.
No.
The board can eventually release those, but until the board votes on that, they are,
Has that ever been done?
yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, so when I think I asked last April at a coffee with the board about whether the executive session, if you all like sign something to say that you won't speak of it outside of
No, there's no, it's
nothing.
part of your ethics, when you sign your ethics every year, that's part, and part of our code is I think it's more of a, is that a state law? Or how does that work with executive session?
The Open Meetings Act basically allows for closed session discussion, and that information could remain private. Part of the board's, duty would be to keep that information private, but there's no violation of a law
If you don't.
If it is, right, disclosed.
Okay, answer that question.
Cheryl Tucker, items 14B, D, and 16A.
Good evening. I'm going to start with the new business one, Rules of Order and Procedure. Basically, I just remind the trustees, as you discuss this topic, that you are representative of the people of Villa Park. As representatives, you are responsible to make sure that your fellow trustees and future trustees understand the following rules that you are setting forth for them now. That transparency is upheld with no CCing or blind copying emails being sent out to private emails or websites, along with upholding the freedom of speech for the residents is very important for them to have a right to speak in front of you. It should not only have to be the village attorney's job to make sure these rules are followed, but each and every board member should be following them and helping to proceed that they go on. 14B, I just want you, requesting you to approve this between the Villa Park Police and the Northeast DuPage Family and Youth Services. It's not only important to ensure the safety for our residents that are in need, it's also very important to ensure the safety of our police officers, our fire personnel, our paramedics, as they respond to calls that they do not know what they're heading into. It's very important that you provide them the resources to be able to do that. The next one is 14D. I'm requesting that you please approve the purchase of the 2020 trip van for the Villa Park Recreation Department, so they can continue to safely transport our seniors on their trips. The bus that's on right now is not really too safe for them in some situations, and for special events and possibly future team transportation it could go on. Even though it looks like it's a year old, it is great that I'm seeing that the staff checked in to make sure that it had a standard warranty that came with it that would basically secure that bus as it continues on. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Cheryl.
I have no others signed up.
Okay. Anyone else, public comments on agenda items?
Sorry, I signed the wrong sheet. My name's Sarah Wadford, 518 North Douglas. I wanted to talk about item 12A, I believe, which is about Mortadelli, basically upgrading their liquor license. I saw this board approve overall the initial license for packaged goods back in, I think it was the fall. And what happened last week really bothered me as a resident. Watching a woman I never met appear completely confused, caught off guard, and basically rejected by her board was really disturbing. But ultimately, Jack Corkery's response was, I won't vote for this unless you give up what we want, which would be gaming. Someone that doesn't drink or games, I really don't care, but I don't like the way that turned out. And I really don't think that it's fair to small businesses in our community. And with what happened with the Hawthorne project, where everyone would love for us to have a thriving downtown, like Oak Park and Elmhurst and Lombard and Glen Ellen, all of those happened because they had thriving small businesses prior to the buildings being built. No honest and decent developer will come to this town if you are making it impossible for small businesses to thrive. So that's it. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I'm Jackie Brown, and I live down the street from Mortadelli on Ardmore, and I'm a homeowner there. I just want to say that I watched the board meeting on video, and having been in an area where there's a lot of empty buildings, and it looks not so nice on the corner not too far from Mortadelli, I really think that you all have missed an opportunity to work with the woman who is probably the only person that could make gaming look sexy and attractive to a building. So I would just encourage you to take the option maybe of doing grandfathering for her and look at gaming licenses as in the future for other people, not to approve them, but grant her the opportunity to keep her license and expand her business. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please, excuse me. Keep your comments down, please. Okay, anyone else? Public comments on agenda items. Okay, item 5, public comments on non-agenda items.
Okay, Bob Wagner.
Thank you. I'm here representing the Environmental Concerns Commission, and I want to just let the board know and the public know that the Environmental Concerns Commission is accepting nominations for our 2024 Green Champion Award. We've been making this award since 2016. There's a variety of categories that someone could qualify. We've awarded it to individuals, businesses, and organizations, and the deadline for submission is March 21st. And the commission will make a decision for the recipient at our meeting in March. And then I just want to mention that the planning for the annual spring sweep is ongoing with staff. Spring sweep will be on May 17th this year, Saturday, May 17th, from 9 a.m. to noon. And we are always looking for volunteers. We are appreciative of, members of the board that show up, and we look forward to another successful event. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Okay, well, I had Judy again. Okay, Judy Worley did have another comment, non-agenda.
There were some people that signed over here, I think. I don't know if everybody got covered on, okay.
That's fine.
So I came to the Coffee with the Board the first, and I realized when I got home that I didn't really have my question answered. So I came to the meeting tonight to ask our municipal law expert about the Open Meetings Act. On February 10th, 2:20 or so in the afternoon, I was looking at the agenda that was the minutes to be put for that meeting in the evening, and it was empty. There was nothing there, no agenda. And I called and left a message, village manager's office, for somebody to call me back. That didn't happen. I called again. I called the clerk's office and did not hear from her. I was able to call about 5:30 or so, and then I talked to Clerk Koronecki, and she said that, it was up now, the meeting minutes, the agenda was up, but I had already had to make other plans for the meeting on February 10th. So is that a violation of the Open Meetings Act?
Well, first you should address your comments to the chair. And
I
then
asked.
Okay.
I asked on
Yeah,
Saturday.
this was brought up, and, well, go ahead, you can
Is there
answer
or no?
that.
I don't know all the facts surrounding the situation that you're talking about there. And, I mean, what I can tell you is that 48 hours prior to the meeting, the agenda has to be posted, and no less than 48 hours. So I don't know if there was a glitch. I understand that the village does get their agendas posted in a timely manner, so all meetings are held in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. With respect to the access on the website to the minutes, I mean, the minutes at all times were available to the public.
Where
for-
were they then, if
Well,
it
they're
wasn't on the website?
here at Village Hall. There
Oh,
are
at the
always
Village
paper
Hall.
copies available for viewing if that's required.
Okay.
I don't know the circumstances of whether there was a glitch on the link to the village's website.
Well, that evening in the village meeting, President Kazone said that they were up and down because talking to lawyers to get the wording right on the contract with,
Wait, what was that?
with, it was like, you talked about it going back and forth with the lawyers for the
Not regarding,
redevelopment?
not regarding it being on
Not
the
the-
website.
No, okay. All right. Second point was the mitigation meeting then for the property at 100 or 110 South Villa. So that was not on the village website either. And then February 18th.
That was on the website, guys.
The-
I saw it on the website, so I don't know, maybe you're not catching that.
Not where all the meetings are listed. February
that was-
18th.
I'll take it.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
Is that the
But-
meeting that was published also in the newspaper?
Yeah, we
Yes,
did publish it
correct.
in the newspaper, but
Oh, okay.
sometimes, the way it's supposed to work is that if it gets in the meeting calendar, it's supposed to immediately load it into if it goes on the list of meetings, it's supposed to load it into the calendar. Some places, people look one place, some people look at the other place. That hasn't always worked for us, so sometimes
I was
we
just
check one
looking
place and not the other.
Where
but-
you see the village meetings, all of that stuff, so it wasn't
Okay.
like you have the 10th, you had, but nothing on the 18th, so.
Okay,
So it would be at the village hall then that I would look for those things.
okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Okay, anyone else? Non-agenda items?
You got me twice because I came in. Usually I watch online. I have the opportunity to say uniquely that I have actually voted for each of you on this board at one point in time or another. So when I say the things that I'm about to say, I have no bias whatsoever. I did notice Trustee Alfano had a very passionate plea to be respectful of each other. It seemed to allude to the point in time where Trustee Kozar was interrupted on February 10th, and then, but I have to say that honestly, Trustee Kozar has shown very little regard for respect and honor to those that serve the board. I wanted to remind you all that staff is here to serve you, but really you're here to serve residents, and the staff does a great job from the town hall to the police, fire, park district, and everything. And I really feel like you should treat people with respect when they are doing their jobs. We are not a village with a ton of money laying around to make it, well, it's okay, I got to put up with that guy. Treat them with respect. And when I say that, I'm specifically talking to Kozar. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I am Dr. Vish, CEO of Hawthorne World. I know it has been a difficult time for the village with this project. Some people have got some bad rap, as well as our firm had a sullied reputation because of the delays that have been caused. I'm here to tell you where we stand today. Our team met with Matt Harline and Nick Cozzone in December before the holidays and before the RDA deadline date, and we presented an opportunity for the village to get back its parcel and for us to start the project, but we wanted a 60 to 90-day extension. I have to tell you, the village has been very cooperative. They did give us the time. We just need one more accommodation. The village at that time asked us to submit a current stamp of the architect, and we did that, but our extension request unfortunately failed to pass. So I am here to tell you that we have the full financing secured and are asking for a meeting with the village, which we asked for again a couple of weeks ago. So we have not received a response. So all we are requesting is a meeting with the village so that we can show our cards and show that we are ready.
Okay, thanks, Doc.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Contreras, and I am a homeowner in Villa Park, recently owner. As a resident, I am very interested in this project coming up. I think it'll promote the village. This means economic opportunity and prosperity for my community. I ask the board to take another look at the project financing and approve the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Public comments on non-agenda items? Okay, seeing none. Item 6A is executive session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2 C11 regarding litigation when action against, affecting, or on behalf of the village has been filed and is pending before a court, or when the village finds that an action is probable or imminent. Do we have a motion to go into executive session? Trustee Corkery, do we have a second?
Second.
Trustee Cordova. Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, Clerk Kornecki, please call the roll for executive session.
Okay, Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. So we will go into executive session. We will come back out here and finish the meeting. So if anyone wants to stick around for the rest of it, we will be back out here as soon as we are done in executive session. To convene back to open session. Trustee Corkery? Second? Trustee Cordova? Do we have a voice vote on that? Okay. Get a roll call on that. Clerk Konecki, please.
Yes. Trustee Alfano?
Here.
Trustee Cordova?
Here.
Trustee Corkery?
Here.
Trustee Kozar?
Here.
Trustee Kumar?
Here.
Trustee Patrick? President Kazan.
Yes. Okay, we were, all right, item 7 and 8, proclamation and presentation, we have none. Item 9A is appointment of Carlos Jackson as Commissioner of the Community Fund Commission for a term upon being sworn in to April 30th, 2026. And we have a motion for the appointment. Trustee Alfano?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second that.
Trustee Patrick? Any questions or comments? Clerk Konecki, please.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
President Kazan.
Yes. Okay, item 10 is a consent agenda. Bill listings for the weeks of February 25th, 2025 and March 3rd, 2025 in the amount of $817,485.43. Item 10B is approval of the minutes of the Village Board of Trustees meeting held on February 24th, 2025, and we have a motion for the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Trustee Cordova, do we have a second? Trustee Kumar? Okay, questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Konecki, please.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
President Kazan.
Yes. Okay, item 11A is an ordinance for the first reading. Ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, amending Chapter 3 of the Villa Park Municipal Code relating to liquor licenses and video gaming terminal fees. Manager Harline.
This ordinance amends Chapter 3, Section 320, forfeiture of license for failure to conduct business, and Section 3, 409, gambling, entertainment, and dancing. Staff recommends approval of this ordinance. These two sections deal with the so-called 90-day rule if you do not go into business 90 days after receiving your license, and also updates our fees for gaming machines to meet the state or the state allowed fee. Director McLaughlin, Community Economic Director McLaughlin is here if you have any additional questions on this.
Okay,
It's for first
okay.
reading.
Okay, so this is a first reading. Any questions, comments, or motions to? Trustee Kumar.
I am going to make a motion on this to waive the first reading.
Okay, we have a motion to waive the first reading. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Trustee Cordova. Questions or comments on the motion?
I would like to say that the mirroring the fees of the state of Illinois and the work that staff has done to do that, I am proud of them. It is considerable income for our village to mirror those fees at this point. And going ahead and following through with that process is a good thing.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Hey, Clerk Konecki, so this is a motion to waive the first reading.
Okay, Trustee Corkery?
No.
Trustee Patrick?
No.
Trustee Alfano?
No.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Kazan.
Yes. Okay, so we will waive the first reading. Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance itself?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Cordova, we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Trustee Kozar. Okay, questions or comments on the ordinance itself? Trustee Kozar.
So this was the ordinance in Villa Park that said that you have to use your liquor license within 90 days of receiving it. It is not in the Illinois State Code. It's just a local ordinance. And I don't think that it is fair for somebody to come in expecting or wanting a liquor license, but only being able to apply for that liquor license and receive it within 90 days. So I've been advocating for this change for, well, since I owned fuel 4 years ago, so that people can come into town and get their liquor license, know what they're up against, pay for it, and then if they don't use it, they're paying for it. So it's on them. I'm glad to see that it has finally made its way to the agenda after lots of advocating. But that is what we're passing here today, or voting on today, whether or not it gets passed. So that's what we're voting on today.
Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
Thank you. And just to add on to what Trustee Kozar just presented there today, Trustee Kozar is right. This was a local regulation only. I misspoke at our meeting where I represented that it mimics state law. I did some quick research up here at the dais, which was in error. So I apologize for that. One of the things that this regulation also requires, though, is that not just 90 days in between the issuance of a license, but if an establishment goes out of business or is not operating for a period of 90 days, that would result in a forfeiture of a license. So that 90-day period that's applicable in this forfeiture provision is also being removed here today. We may want to have a discussion on that. That is something in addition to just when a license is issued before they operate, but this is a provision that's also utilized if a current establishment is inoperable and it results in an automatic forfeiture. So that 90-day applies there as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Trustee Kumar.
Do we want to have a license, in your opinion, that I see both sides are important, but the 90-day license, the 90-day, it doesn't have to be two-sided. Can it be a one-sided if post they don't operate in 90 days, can we remove whatever residual license is there?
So, yes, this board can choose to eliminate the 90-day, after being issued a license, that 90-day time period, we can eliminate that requirement. If we want to have some language that says for a business that's already issued a license, if it's out of operation or not operating for a period of 90 days, that license will be automatically forfeited. We can't have that language in there, but I'll let Community Development Director
Yeah, thank you.
speak to that.
Staff does not have a problem with managing a business that goes under or leaves. We would, at a minimum, pick it up at the renewal cycle. So if it's not being used, it's still sitting there. And if you remember, licenses are not transferable. So the only person that can use it is the person that I'm going to be sending an invoice for $3,500. I would no longer like your license. Great, then we take it off the books.
Yeah, the maximum it would be
Couple months.
12 months, but,
Yeah.
that's the maximum, but nobody would apply for a license and then not be open for the whole year, so.
So they're absolutely not transferable or
That's correct.
saleable in our
Licenses are
town?
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
There are other mechanisms for the village board as well, like you could reduce the license, like I think we're doing in a situation, and so that you close the loop on any new licenses. So,
Okay. I just want to make sure that.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, Clerk Renecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Kumar,
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, item 11B is an ordinance amending section 313A of Chapter 3 of the Villa Park Municipal Code in order to decrease by one the maximum number of licenses permitted under the Class D liquor license classification. Manager Harley.
This ordinance reduces the total number of Class D liquor licenses by one for the 7-Eleven at 54 South Villa Avenue. The owner of the license is no longer operating a business at this address, and therefore the license must be forfeited. Staff recommends approval of the ordinance. The Director McLaughlin, Chair, if you want to discuss the details, the new owner, the building has been taken over by the corporate 7-Eleven, and they will come, but we assume they'll be coming back to us for a license request.
Okay, again, this is discussion only unless someone wants to waive first reading. Okay, trustee Kozar.
Make a motion to waive the first reading.
Okay, we have a second on that motion.
Yeah, I'll second.
Trustee Cordova? Questions or comments? Okay, Clerk Konecki, the motion to waive the first reading.
Okay, trustee Patrick?
No.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, so do we have a motion to, for the ordinance amending 313A?
I'll make a motion.
Trustee Cordova, we have a second. Trustee Corkery, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Konecki, please.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Kazone?
Yes. Okay, item 12A is an ordinance amending section 3-13A in order to increase the Class AA license by 1 and reduce the Class AAA license by 1. Manager Harline.
This ordinance increases by 1 the number of AA Tavern Unlimited licenses and simultaneously decreases by 1 the number of AAA Tavern beer and wine only licenses. The business at 357 South Ardmore, called Mortadelli, currently holds a Class AAA liquor license, which allows sale of beer and wine for consumption on premise and retail sale of original packaged liquor. The owner has requested a change to a Class AA license for the sale of alcoholic liquors for consumption on premises and the sale of alcoholic liquors at retail in original packages for consumption off-premise. There are currently no Class AA liquor licenses. This has been continued from the previous meeting, and this is additional second reading.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Cordova, we have a second. Trustee Kumar, any questions or comments? Trustee Corkery.
I'd just like to address some things that some of the other trustees said last meeting and that some of the public said here today. I remember some of the trustees said they didn't have an issue with gambling itself, it was just with the machines. I think I should clarify that it's not the case for me. I think it's an addictive industry. It preys on people with addictions, and I don't want it in this town for that reason, no matter how sexy it is. So when Lena's came here, I told them I didn't want to grant any more gambling licenses, and I feel the same way today, so that's how I'll be voting.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Trustee Kumar.
I have a couple of things to say. I did go and visit Lena's. I have gone and visited Mortadelli's. And honestly, I have to say consistent with my approach, unfortunately. And I have to be fair both to Lena's and to Mortadelli's. And therefore, in this, I'm going to vote one way based on that. And I hope people will understand. I did a ton of research this week about the gambling industry, who's controlling the bus, trying to find out how I could help our local businesses. And quite frankly, I feel that there are some oligopoly companies controlling what's happening in our town. There are a few companies, JJ Gaming, Excel Entertainment, and Gold Rush Gaming, 4 or 5, that really are not caring about our businesses, are only trying to push their licenses on whoever they can push it on in the name of sustaining business. Now, honestly, if you're sustaining a business and you're selling something, that's your main product. That should be your concentration. If gaming is your source of revenue to keep your business propped up, then you're not selling your main product. And that is a concern for me. And I do see businesses disappearing day in and day out by having that as their main source of income. And I understand that you want to expand your business, you want to come up with the money to expand your business, but there are other opportunities. There's loans. There's ways to expand your business other than turning to gaming. Only about 7% of individuals actually visit these things, visit gaming machines. And if you go to any of those websites of the gaming industry major players, they're none of our businesses in town. They have covered all of Illinois. And the benefits that are spoken to the business are not as high as they're going to claim. I looked at all the revenue sheets. We actually got it when Lena's came to town. The staff was very nice about giving us the revenue sheets. And if you look at revenue, only 6 of these companies are making what is being promised to Lena's, which was about 150,000. 6 of the top companies. The rest, or whatever they expected, and they are not making that much. There's a lot of businesses that are turning to gaming as a source of income, and it kind of eats up your business. I was talking to someone on yesterday on Michigan Avenue, and she was a big supporter of Mortadelli's. There are so many people who came out to us and are in support of Mortadelli's because she runs a beautiful business. She runs a beautiful business. Her sandwiches, her meatball sandwiches are the best. Look on the Yelp reviews. But if you really want to support our local businesses, it's about buying their product. Get out there and get in the restaurant. Otherwise, our restaurants are disappearing. Gaming companies are literally eating up our restaurants at this point. And that is a concern. And it may not seem from a one restaurant's perspective as something to worry about, but as the board, we need to protect our businesses along with our residents. We're not just protecting our residents. And for this reason, I'm going to make the vote that I'm going to make because I feel that the gaming industry, and we have to address them in some way. We have to get our income out of them. We're not going to hit our small businesses to address our income issues to make this a better place and Villa Park a better place. And many residents, I've had both sides, about 50% of the residents are interested in having gaming. They don't care if you have gaming or not, and 50% do not want to see it. And what I see, a lot of our restaurants are gone. There were 30 restaurants when I was growing up where we could sit down and eat food. Now we're down to 3 or 4, mainly breakfast places, and even those breakfast places are asking for gaming licenses to survive. Okay, so it is not an end-all situation. We got to stop it somewhere as a board. We need to protect both our businesses and we need to protect our residents. That's our job, and that's what I was voted in for, and that's what I will continue to do.
Okay. Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. So we are, as trustees, very honored to be sitting where we are because we represent our residents. And we do represent our residents. I feel, as Trustee Kumar mentioned, that we also do need to protect businesses when we see a trend, and I am seeing the trend of gaming industry coming in, and I feel like there's some promises that are coming in and they're not always being honored. And as trustees, as I watch how we operate, and I hope that residents are watching how we are operating, we all kind of have a different process of how we go about kind of making these decisions. My process, I don't have the conversations directly with petitioners. I don't have those conversations. I rely on staff, and I do that because I want to remain critical, I want to remain unbiased, and I want to remain fair. And I just don't always have the time. I'm not sure. I know that in our packet it says that we have other conversations coming up with other liquor holders. I don't know how many more conversations that we may have on that, but I know that we don't always have the time to have those interactions and conversations and go and visit all of the different places that we're being asked to visit. But with that said, I am skeptical sometimes of my fellow trustees who are grabbing a beer, who are asking to like sit down and really kind of socialize. And there are some that are, who are really starting to get kind of cozy with people who are making big asks of us. I really feel like as somebody who the residents have put their trust in, I really do need to remain very cautious when people come to ask for something from us who we're kind of protecting, you know, our village. This is our village. We have a plan. We are at the brink of having this huge plan come. We have Ardmore, we have the TIF, we have so many things that are happening here. And we really have to be very critical thinkers about what we want that plan to look like and what we want to do moving forward. So we really just have to kind of take a pause. That is how I've made this approach, both with Lena's, both with any license that has been coming up. These are the things that I think about. This is my approach, and I wanted to share that with residents and with businesses alike. I'm not sure that that's always the approach that happens with all of us. I would encourage residents to do their homework and ask some other trustees who they're spending their time talking to, if it's always residents or if it's petitioners as well. And that's all that I have for that.
Trustee Kumar.
I would also like, I think Mark is more knowledgeable about this matter, and I would like him to weigh in on that we are going to be looking in detail at these licenses sometime in the short future and coming up with strategies that will both protect our businesses when they receive these licenses and our community from what I think is conversion of some oligopoly firms.
Cool, thank you. Yes, so I've mentioned this in the past. I mentioned it at budget time. One of the major projects for my department since we've taken over the liquor licensing procedures is that we will be doing a complete overhaul of Chapter 3 alcoholic liquors. One, to start to make sure that we do match at least word for word where it's required with the state, which is what you guys just approved, 2 ordinances ago, as well as modernizing some of the requirements for actual liquor application. There's some archaic language in there. We're going to pull out some of those things, as well as some of the other hoops and hurdles to get through to even get in front of you guys. In addition is a consolidation of the number of classes that we had. So many of them are duplicative. We're going to look at everything. So all that being said, the strategy is to come back in front of the village board at a COW June or July of this year with here's our first draft, what do you think, are we going the right direction, followed up with a actual ordinance for approval. And the strategy on all of this is to do it before renewals go out, so that everyone knows what they're applying for the next year. Which is why, if you remember, I suggested not doing it last November. We're in the middle of renewals.
And currently, Mortadelli's license, as they hold it, they will be able to open up business, just not serve hard drinks. Is that correct? If they wanted to apply for a gambling machine or have gambling machines.
That is correct. So they currently have a beer and wine pour and package only, which
So they
still
can
qualifies.
absolutely conduct what they're conducting, just simply not have, serve the pretty drinks.
They would not be able to sell alcoholic liquor, which includes tequila, vodka, seltzers, those type of things. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else? Just go to.
So I believe it was last year when Divine came in and they switched from a AAA to a AA. Wonderful women-owned business here in town, expanding. Had nothing to do with gaming. This ordinance here that's up for second reading has nothing to do with gaming. This is going from a AAA license to a AA so that mixed drinks could be made at a bar. And again, this is a wonderful business, has a lot of support in our community because it is a very welcomed type of business that we've been looking for to have. So what we're voting on has nothing to do with gaming. We don't get to dictate gaming here. This is essentially just going from beer and wine only for consumption on premise to the sale of alcoholic liquors for consumption on premise. That is it. Nothing with gaming. They already have it. We shouldn't be talking about gaming. We should be talking about her ability to expand the business into a full menu of drinks.
Okay.
I'll be voting yes.
Anyone else? Trustee Patrick.
I agree. I think it's important that we support our local businesses. It's important, especially women-owned businesses in town. We need to encourage small businesses to come to town. Absolutely agree with that. We need to be planning ahead. Planning is very important. on what we are going to be doing moving forward regarding some of these issues. But what I will say is, based on the counsel provided to the board by our village attorney in executive session, I cannot be in favor of increasing this license at this time.
Okay, I just want to say, I did have two emails that I had received regarding this. I did forget to read it at the beginning of the meeting. I will turn it to the clerk, though, so she can put it in the record. I apologize to the two people that I did not read that. But I understand the feelings of the board up here. I know we've all received emails from people, we've talked to people. I've had a lot of support from people that I've talked to, for the gaming license, or not for the gaming, like for the liquor license, increasing it. It's a good idea. They're trying to make their business grow. But I have also talked to people that said they don't want it. So it's a tough issue, but I think we need to vote our conscience on this up here and do what we need to do. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Clerk Konecki.
Okay, trustee Corkery,
No.
trustee Patrick,
No.
trustee Kumar,
No.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
No.
trustee Kozar,
No.
president Kazone.
I'm going to vote yes on that. So it does not pass, so we will move on from here.
I'm not able to speak on that.
No. You can come up next meeting if you like. Item 13A is an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park granting the approval of a special use for a vehicle body and paint finishing shop for tenant space B at the property commonly known as 600 North Villa Avenue, Villa Park, Illinois. Manager Harline.
This ordinance approves petition PZ 2502 for a special use for a vehicle body and paint finishing shop use located at 620 North Villa Avenue per Exhibit A. Auto and truck repair is a use by right in M1. Auto or truck body repair and painting requires a special use permit. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommended approval by a vote of 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Kozar, do we have a second? Trustee Corkery. Questions or comments? Trustee Alfano.
Yeah, I do have one question. Can we have staff explain why there was why it required a special use permit?
Director McLaughlin.
I had a question from a resident about that.
Oh, sure. So in the use table in the zoning ordinance, it specifies what uses are allowed, what are not allowed, and then are required a special use. So when you go to the vehicle and repair section at the very bottom, commercial body shop and paint finishing shop, the only district you're allowed it in is the M1 with a special use. So you can't actually be allowed by right with this particular use. You have to go through the special use process.
Okay. Is that because of just the paint?
Well, it's because unlike a repair shop that could do quick turnover, oil change and what's not, there is a parking demand where you wait for parts and pieces. There's a site plan associated with this. We know that they can fit 32 trailers on site, and so then we have that document to help regulate and make sure things don't get out of control.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And I was at the Planning and Zoning, and it passed fairly easily with the P&Z Commission, so it's a good use for that property there, making use of it. So, any other questions, comments? Okay, Clerk Konecki, please.
Okay, trustee Kozar,
Yes.
trustee Kumar,
Yes.
trustee Patrick,
Yes.
trustee Corkery,
Yes.
trustee Cordova,
Yes.
trustee Alfano,
Yes.
president Kazone.
Yes. Item 13B is an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park suspending application of Chapter 15, Article 3, Section 15-302 of the Villa Park Municipal Code in order to implement the village's No Mow Until Mother's Day program. Manager Harline.
This ordinance would suspend the enforcement of Municipal Code, Chapter 15, Article 3, Article Roman numeral 3, weeds, Section 15-302, prohibited, nuisance declared until May 11th, 2025. This ordinance is an annual requirement for the No Mow Until Mother's Day pollinator program. No enforcement would occur for excessive heights of weeds, plants, and grass as nuisances during this period. Staff recommends approval of passage of the ordinance as this is part of the recurring No Mow Until Mother's Day pollinator program for which we already have signs made. And I believe that is the recommendation from the Environmental Concerns Commission.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the ordinance? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
We have a second?
I'll second.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Any questions or comments? Trustee Patrick?
I just want to remind our residents that NOMO May was a program, an awareness program that was established in Appleton, Wisconsin. And it was a program that lets us realize the benefits of our pollinators that are out there. This ordinance is in no way, shape, or form a thing to be utilized by code enforcement to take care of anybody's tall grass or too tall grass or anything like that. This is strictly an awareness program that we have out there that our pollinators are very important. So we are not out there to enforce making sure that people's grass is too long. And the signs that were talked about were right here by the Environmental Concerns Commission. They are here in Village Hall, so if you would like one, stop by and pick one up. And thank you to the work of the Environmental Concerns Commission for promoting and continuing to promote this awareness program.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, Clerk Reneke, please.
Okay, Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
President Casal?
Yes. Okay, move on to item 14A is a resolution adopting a Village of Villa Park travel policy. Manager Harline.
This proposed resolution approves a comprehensive update to the village's travel and training policy last updated in September of 2017. Staff recommends approval of the resolution. This also is one of the features of this ordinance is that it uses GSA numbers so that if for some reason we are traveling outside of the Chicagoland area and the prices are lower, then we would be using the area costs for items. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have a motion for the resolution. Trustee Cordova, we have a second. Trustee Kumar, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Reneke, please.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
President Casal?
Yes. Item 14B is a resolution approving and authorizing the execution of a memorandum of understanding between the Village of Villa Park Police Department and the Northeast DuPage Family and Youth Services. Manager Harline.
This resolution authorizes the village manager to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Northeast DuPage Family and Youth Services to mutually promote the mental health and social services needs of Villa Park residents. The Village of Villa Park agrees to pay NEDFIS an amount not to exceed $34,091.62 as part of this MOU. Staff recommends approval of this resolution. This is the continuation of the partnership between DuPage County, the Tri-Town Y, NEDFIS, and the village. The current social worker serving this program is Ashley Patino, and she's doing very well, and I'm sure that if you want to ask Chief Rivas or Deputy Chief Riposh, I was trying to remember which one was here tonight, they can tell you some of the many times that she stepped in early on in her service to us and the other social workers that we've had in this program. So it's a very valuable program. Hope to continue it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, do we have a motion? Trustee Kumar, we have a second. Trustee Alfano.
Yes.
Okay, Trustee Kumar.
I think social work is extremely important, and I'm very glad to have people on board to help those who are in need. And I think this is a good thing to vote on and say yes to.
Okay, Trustee Alfano.
Yes, I want to send the same sentiments. I think that behavioral health issues like PTSD that are disabilities that are not easily seen, they do exist. And it's really important that we have that support, not just for our staff, but for our residents that are going to need that support. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Patrick?
Thank you. I'll also piggyback off of that. I believe that mental health awareness is very important nowadays, and this is something that's important that we supply our departments with the tools necessary to help us combat some of this. So I am definitely in favor of this. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Clerk Konecki, please.
Okay, Trustee Corkery,
Yes.
Trustee Cordova,
Yes.
Trustee Alfano,
Yes.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, item 14C is a resolution for the use of motor fuel tax for general street maintenance, section 25-00000-00 Manager Harline.
The village utilizes motor fuel tax, also known as MFT funds, to help fund the general maintenance activities on the village roadways for the cost of personnel and materials and other road-related purchases. This includes the purchase of salt, gravel, asphalt materials, sign materials, and roadway paint for crosswalks, along with the cost of personnel and equipment to perform MFT qualified work. The approved FY25 budget has planned MFT expenditures of $1,097,500 for general maintenance. This resolution is required to utilize those funds. Staff recommends approval of this resolution, and Director of Public Works, Michael Guerra, is here if you have any questions.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion for the resolution? Trustee Patrick?
Mr. President, I'd like to make that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Trustee Alfano?
I'll second.
Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Konecki, please.
Trustee Kozar,
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
Trustee Alfano.
Yes.
Trustee Cordova.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Item 14D is a resolution of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, waiving bid and approving the purchase of a 2024 Ford E450 Starcraft All-Star Paratransit Bus from Midwest Transit Equipment, Inc. of Kankakee, Illinois, for $117,600. Manager Harline.
The following resolution authorizes the village manager to execute a purchase order to obtain a 2024 Ford EE 450 Starcraft All-Star Paratransit Bus from Midwest Transit Equipment of Kankakee, Illinois, in the amount of $117,600. This paratransit bus will replace the current 2008 Ford Elkhart coach shuttle bus utilized by the village's recreation department. Due to the specific nature of the bus and the availability of buses, a formal competitive bid process was not used. Instead, the staff sought pricing from 3 vendors that had buses available. Midwest Transit had the lowest price of similar model buses. Therefore, the the resolution before you requires to be passed according to the rules for something that's not a formal bid. So the staff recommends approval of this resolution. Director Guerra is here on site, is here to discuss why we need to purchase a new bus. And if you want to talk about the old bus, I also have a piece of the old bus that Director Guerra shared with me that had fallen off. It's a very, but it is the bus that has some rust issues and other things, and it is time to retire it. And we have worked actually for over a year to try and find a replacement, and Director Guerra can go over that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion for the resolution. Trustee Kumar, a second. Trustee Alfano. Questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Clerk Konecki, please.
Trustee Patrick.
Yes.
Trustee Cordova.
Yes.
Trustee Kumar.
Yes.
Trustee Corkery.
Yes.
Trustee Kozar.
Yes.
Trustee Alfano.
Yes.
President Kazone.
Yes. Okay, item 15A is unfinished business. We have garbage cans along the Ardmore Business District. Manager Harline.
I'm going to turn this over to Director of Parks and Recreation, Greg Gola. He's done some research on the costs of some trash cans that we could put out, similar to the ones we have on Villa Avenue, unless there's somebody from the Board of Trustees that wants to talk about this first. But we've got some options, and then we're going to have to find places where they'll fit and still allow for adequate span for the ADA requirements on sidewalks. Go ahead, Greg.
Good evening. Thank you, Manager Hardline. Yeah, we had put in 8, 9 garbage cans on the Villa Avenue corridor, and they're at 3 out of the 4 corners at Kenilworth and Wildwood, and then 2 are right by the Prairie Path. So we empty the garbage cans in the wintertime once a week, and summer twice or 3 times a week. So it's beneficial for that area, and went down to the Ardmore on Park and Central. And it looks like, can't really put anything right on the sidewalks, but on the corners by the Edward Jones and by the barber shop and across the street, and even by former trustee Aiello's office, and then by the bird shop on the other side of Central. So we'd like to get at least 5 cans. And we checked out prices of them, and they range from $640 to $1,000 for the cans. And the lower amount, the $640 amount, is that company is also involved in a cooperative purchasing program. So those are the least expensive. And they're all basically the same garbage cans. And if you notice the ones that on Villa, they have the slats. They're not just like a 55-gallon drum. They're kind of dressy. So,
Thank you. Trustee Kumar.
I am completely for keeping our village clean, and I think that's well worth spent $640. I also know the businesses there, having the garbage cans on the outside for them, that's helping them continue their business ethic, and they don't have to be out there cleaning in front of their business. We're giving them a little bit of an edge, so I absolutely am for that.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Corkery?
I bought a garbage can the other week for like $20. I know it's not the same kind, but 600 is the best we can do.
These are 32-gallon, and they also have the slats on them. They're not your everyday garbage can.
The expert.
They have to be, I'm sorry, yeah. They have to be weather-worthy. They're designs to make them less attractive for graffiti. There's a lot to picking out a trash can that you're going to have outside 365 days a year for multiple years.
Are those animal-proof too? Or
well, they have the
as best as
slats.
possible,
I've watched squirrels like climb bird feeders and everything. They get into everything, but
Okay.
the slats would probably prevent them a little bit.
Yeah. Trustee Kumar.
Honestly, New York had a problem with mice getting into all their garbage cans, and they're all commercial too. So there's only so much you can do with the animals.
In the summertime too, we're pretty regular about emptying those cans, so it's not going to be a nuisance. I would imagine the mice and everything tend to congregate if they're left out for a while and garbage is overflowing.
Okay, thanks. Trustee Kozar.
I brought this up at the last minute, at the last meeting. One of our residents, Ms. Coleman, had brought it to my attention, so I appreciate you looking into this and doing it and making this happen. I think Ms. Coleman was right. It just kind of helps try to cut down all the debris and garbage that's on Ardmore, so appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Thanks, Greg. Okay, item 16A, new business, rules of order and procedure. Manager Harline.
A request was made to discuss certain topics related to the Rules of Order of Procedure. A draft of possible amendments is included to serve as a point of discussion. If the board wishes to make changes, the Rules of Order and Procedure can be amended by a motion that is seconded and approved by a majority of the board tonight. The changes would go into effect at the next meeting. So the board officially adopted the rules as provided for under Section 2-14. 410 in July of '24 to supplement Robert's Rules of Order that were adopted by ordinance and made part of the municipal code. At the last meeting, we had the request to come up with certain amendments, specific amendments, and what I put in here, again, this is a first draft. We can adopt them if you like them. You can change them, etc. Proposed change to section Roman numeral A, Roman numeral Roman numeral 1, capital letter A, number 2, addresses the ability of the president or another trustee serving in that role to change the agenda. This only allows for amendments to be made during the space made for that on the agenda or by a 2/3 majority as allowed in Robert's Rules of Order. The proposed change to section Roman numeral 1, capital B, 6, establishes that the agenda will not be sent to the Board of Trustees by using blind copy email. No one else will be blind copied on the email. The proposed change to section Roman numeral 2, capital A, 4, makes clear that requests to read items into the record must be made during the report section. And the reason why I left it in there is that my belief is that, and I'm not a lawyer, so we can amend this as you want, is that, the Board of Trustees has the right to say what they want, so long as it's not, a violation of, as long as you're not saying somebody, you're abiding by the rules of decorum, if, from their First Amendment rights, or if it violates specific parts of the city or the village or the state code in other ways, like discussions of, particularly of campaigning, which is specifically forbidden in our code and state law, I believe, or in our code, definitely state law, I believe. So, anyway, so that's how those were crafted. Staff has attempted to address the requests, and if there are other things you'd like to discuss as well, happy to hear that.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Alfano.
I do have a question for clarification. When we're talking about the agendas and emails being blind copied, is the press blind BCC'd?
We have re-CC'd the press because we don't have permission to share their email, but if this is the rule, then we would stop doing that, and the press email would then be visible to anybody. It's not so much that, we're sending it to you, and the people who are, the version that Cheryl sends out is blind copied to the press. The version I send, the emails that I send to the board specifically are just sent to you. So the blind copying is a pretty common process. We did a quick survey with DMMC, and there's still several cities that use it. And the reason it is used is specifically to make it very difficult for somebody to reply. And then if back and forth, you can develop what could be an open meetings violation if there's a conversation in email by the board. And that's why several cities still use that protocol. But, I'm happy to stop using it if that, I've changed my practice already. Instead, I put in something, don't reply all. There's no one who has, none of the board members have, no board member or other person copied on the email has tried to strike up a conversation on those things. So that seems to be working.
I have a follow-up question then. Do we know if anything has been BCC'd by other trustees on the board to the press, or sent to the press, even copied by the board? And is that something that we might want to put into our rules and procedures? This is not just specifically to Manager Harline, that's our discussion.
Yeah, I really don't have an answer to that. That is more trustees to trustees. It would be hard to enforce. You'd have to specifically ask. We can, when the staff uses BCC, it's usually to prevent that easy exchange by the elected officials of items that would possibly be an open meetings act violation. I actually don't know if I didn't think about this and didn't look into seeing if commissions are blind copying to prevent that as well, because if commissions have conversations offline or online, but out of the public realm, that would also be an open meetings violation. So the reason it was done was not to be secretive or to hide things. It was to prevent that. That's why I always put, this has been blind copied to the board, the trustee, the clerk, and the president. But I don't think that when Cheryl sent, or I didn't direct Cheryl to specifically note that the press was blind copied, but what she's sending out is the agenda.
Sure.
So.
No, that wasn't a specific question about the agenda, but Melissa, would you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think that what the staff and I have been hearing from the board is a concern regarding the mechanism of using the BCC when communicating to the board or other commissions or members of public bodies of this village. And my recommendation is that these rules should address that and be confined to that. One of the concerns regarding email information, from a FOIA perspective, personal email information is deemed private. So we want to make sure that there isn't a complete restriction when it's being used for another mechanism. It was like, as Manager Harline has said, the reason why it was initially implemented was to help from help prevent from an inadvertent Open Meetings Act violation. But quite frankly, that's the board's obligation to make sure that you're complying and not having a contemporaneous discussion. So there's no obligation for this municipality to utilize BCC as a mechanism to do that. It's just for the board not to have the contemporaneous discussion over email. So these rules should focus on that. Basically, the communication between the board or, other agencies of this municipality.
Okay, so one more question when it comes to anybody that might pull a FOIA. Would BCCs then be pulled as well? If somebody said, I would like to FOIA any emails that trustee Alfano had BCC'd, would they be able to?
So the village would be able to find those documents
that's what I
because you're doing it from if you were sending an email with a BCC, that information would be in the record of the village. However, if that was FOIA'd, if there were personal emails on there.
Got it.
So those personal emails may be redacted if those were personal recipients.
Got it. Thank you.
Trustee Kozar.
So I brought this up to have this discussion, which we definitely need. I think there should be an outright prohibition on the whole BCC. I know one of our residents talks about respect. It is disrespectful to the board to think that the board can't control itself not to have contemporaneous discussion and to be paternalistic and say, we're going to BCC these because we don't believe that you can control yourself from contemporaneous conversations. We've all done training on OMA. We are responsible citizens. We know that we can't have contemporaneous conversations on email. This issue specifically came up when I had asked Manager Harline to forward me an email that he allegedly sent to me. And he sent me an email, but because he BCC'd it, I couldn't see that I was copied in on this email. And nobody else from the board could see that my name was left off of an email because it's BCC'd. It poses more problems, and it's just completely unnecessary. The way that it's written in the proposal here only speaks to agendas. But I was informed that agendas aren't necessarily BCC'd. They come out of a system, and they go individually to the trustees. So they're not actually being BCC'd. So this number 6 here is kind of a misnomer because, as I understand it, the agendas aren't BCC'd. It's a whole different mechanism where they're actually sent out more akin to being individual. So if you want to forward an email, have at it, forward an email. That's your right. You can do it. But there's just no reason to keep secrets. This all goes to transparency. And it, like I said, I think it goes to the respect of the board. We can actually not violate the OMA with proper training, and we should all be in the habit of it. And in the event that a trustee should make that error, I'm going to guess that there's 5 other trustees and a president and a manager and an attorney that will jump all over and say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Just like happens in executive session. If somebody makes a comment that strays out of the purview of what we can talk about in executive session, somebody will just speak up and say, you know what, I don't think we should be talking about this for whatever reason. We can govern ourselves. So I would like that language to change and just have an outright prohibition on BCC. And that includes BCCing various emails to the press. This is the first I've ever learned about it, and that's a regular thing that we do. But the reason it's the first time I've ever learned about it is I would never see it on my email. So let's have transparency. So I would like to see that changed. If we want to do it now, or if you want to come back with some different wordage, but I think the wordage can just simply be, we have a prohibition on BCCing, period. That's it.
Okay. Mr. do you want to?
I can make that motion if our council thinks that's adequate.
Trustee.
Oh.
Yeah, go ahead. Corkery had.
No, I'd just say that I've never felt disrespected by the use of BCCs. I don't really understand where this is coming from.
Attorney Wolf.
So with respect to a motion, there's no need for a motion here. This is for, a discussion, and this will come before the board again for ultimate approval. But we would need direction. If there's something in the language here that you would like changed, we should discuss that now so that staff has a direction as to what you want to see when this comes before the board for ultimate approval. So with respect to the BCC issue, I'm going to have to look in if we could just outright prohibit any communications that involve a BCC. There might be privacy reasons. I understand these are rules that you're imposing upon the board and other commissions that are part of the public body. So you can do that, definitely. But with respect to staff's communication, I believe specifically with the agenda issue, it's because there's a mass emailing potentially going out. And so it may be restrictive on staff time. So to control staff is something that at this level the board can't do. This is a manager form of government. It's the manager that controls staff's direction. That would be outside of this board's authority. So the board should focus on the public body and the other, commissions that are deemed the public body of the board. Or
Okay,
the
so,
village.
I don't know if I still have the floor.
Yeah,
I
go
need
ahead.
to be recognized again. We're only talking about the conduct of the board. This is the
Okay.
board's, I think the title even says here, Rules of Order and Procedure for the Board of Trustees of Village of Villa Park. I'm not in any way attempting to manage
Okay.
staff. This
Yeah.
is just for the board. And this has a long history from when I first got on the board, that we had all these disjointed things that were going on, that one time somebody would do one thing and sometimes another person would do something else. So I pushed and pushed so that the board would come up with a board order of rules and procedure. And then if as a board, something doesn't work, no problem, we just change it. If we have another problem, like we're discussing today, we just add it on. It doesn't have to be a complicated process. And this is really just based on our honor that this is how we're going to conduct business and we're all going to be held accountable. And that too goes to respect. Everybody needs to act properly, and we have an agreement here on the board. So to your point, I'm not governing staff in any way. This is only for the board.
So my recommendation then, with respect to that, is that second sentence that says, however, when the proposed agenda is sent from an agenda management software, it may be sent where all recipients are not listed. I think that should be removed. That certainly isn't the board. The board did not recommend that language in there. I think it was, I think we can remove that so that it doesn't cross that line. But we'll make sure that the rule says that communications to the board and between the board shall not use the blind copy mechanism.
I think that's very sufficient.
Okay.
Trustee Kozar.
Okay, the anonymous emails. So we've had a split here. There have been multiple times where I know President Kazone has read an email that is anonymous. And there's some discussion here that violates a First Amendment right, but if it's anonymous, I don't know whose First Amendment right is it. So I think we should have two things. One, if you're going to read a letter that somebody can't come to the board and they say, President Kazone, Jorge Cordova, read this letter for me. It needs to be done where that individual, you're acting as a proxy for that individual, and it needs to be where that individual would have read that letter, which is at public comments on agenda items or non-agenda items. And that's where it is. And you as a trustee or a president will then, you don't have to go to the lectern. I mean, I guess you could if you wanted the show of it, but then you can read the letter on behalf of whatever the resident, presuming it's a resident. But to have an anonymous letter read at the time that we are discussing, whatever it is, 15A, I believe is inappropriate. So I don't like the anonymous emails. I don't know if, we had a discussion about Craig Wilkins, who was a fake profile. If somebody signs their name as a Craig Wilkins and somebody reads it at, agenda, non-agenda or agenda comments, I don't know that we can really do anything about that. We're not going to check IDs and go through all that process. But they should be read at the same time, and even if it's a fake name, I guess, there's nothing I can do about that, but to just read in anonymous emails, it just seems inappropriate, and especially inappropriate when we're talking about the actual agenda item.
Just, is there any law that we would violate by not reading that? If someone sends it?
No, there's no requirement to read reports that are submitted to the board. They can just be given to the clerk. There's not a requirement that the trustee or the president read those written items that were submitted, and there's nothing in our code that requires that either. And so, no, there isn't.
My only, thank you. My only, I have no problem with how you want to do this, whether you want to allow items to be read into the record at the public comment, whether it's on the agenda or not the agenda. So if somebody sends you a letter and they say, would you read this into the agenda, read this into the record, that's, we're not putting them in the minutes verbatim anyway, but they would be on video and they would be recorded. I guess my question is, who is it incumbent on to determine that that's a real person? And as long as the staff isn't trying to check to make sure this is a real person and that it is up to the board, the person reading it, to say whether it's...
Hear what I was saying.
Hang on.
I was hearing, so if Craig Wilkins sends President Kazone an email and he's convinced that Craig Wilkins is a person, I don't know what we're supposed to do at that point.
Well, go ahead.
Okay, but, maybe I wasn't clear about it. I said if there's a name actually attached to it, even if it is a Craig Wilkins, there's nothing I can do about it. We're not going to check IDs, right? So that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Yep. All right, that's fine. And then if somebody gets anonymous email, as a trustee, during reports, we haven't limited what you can say during reports. So you wouldn't, if you want to prohibit reading anonymous emails, all they have to do is put it in as their own comments, right?
There you go. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it would be a trustee comments.
Exactly, that's
Right,
why I
would not
wrote
be-
it.
And again, what I was saying before, and maybe I wasn't clear enough, is reading anonymous emails or letters at the agenda stage. So 15A, I'm going to read a public comment letter. That's not the appropriate time to do it. At the beginning of the meeting, when we have agenda comments would be, and you have basically, a free statement where you can talk about whatever it is you choose to talk about at trustee comments.
Right. And that's okay. Appreciate that.
Well, that brings up a point, though, on item 3 here, where the president, clerk, or trustees may only read a letter into the record during reports.
Anonymous.
It says a letter.
Okay.
If a resident puts their name on an email and is commenting agenda items, should that be read at the time of the public comments? Because that's why it's going in there. If you're reading it into the record at the reports, everything's already been voted on. So I would like to see that changed. I don't think we need that. Do we need that section in there? Because if someone's giving me a letter that says, I want to comment on item 14B, if we've already voted on 14B, that comment is not going to be into the record at that point.
That's a decision that's up to this board. The Open Meetings Act allows for the public comment for, that requires public comment at meetings. So it allows an opportunity for public to attend the meeting and make a comment. You have no obligation to require yourself as a board to read written statements that come into you, into the public comment segment. I mean, that's a decision for the board to make if you want to allow for that. Otherwise, you can, just totally allow it for the public that attends the meeting. But that's a rule that this board gets to make.
Yeah.
There's
I'd like
no
to see that
obligation.
I'd like to see that taken out, because if someone can't be at a meeting and we're talking transparency and we want to see what the residents are coming up, I think if they send an email or a letter, that should be read in at the appropriate time.
Right.
But, I mean, again,
Yeah,
that's,
more people.
Which I believe is exactly what trustee Kozar is saying, is that if you're going to read a letter into the record from somebody who's not here, it should be in that either on agenda related, if it's related to the agenda that night, or non-agenda related, but it should be during a public comment period. Is that?
So, because we're talking about rules of order and procedure, I think there should be a order and procedure as to who's commenting. So like you've got hands up over here of people wanting to comment, and you keep interjecting, and that's been an issue that we've had. So I think you're disrespecting the other members of the board without being recognized and allow.
I was recognized, but.
okay. Trustee Corcoran.
First of all, the manager was recognized, and on the subject of all of these, I struggle to see as anything other than pointless limitations on our speech as board members and our discourse, and I will not be supporting them.
Trustee Kumar.
I like to hear from the residents, and I feel if they send us a letter and want it read in, we have every right as board members to read in the letter they sent us, because they send us a letter to give us the information or the feelings they have. We are a funnel to funnel what the residents say. So whether you read it, if we want to make a rule to just read it during the agenda items, then we have to plan it out. A lot of times, I get to it when we're discussing it, because it's a discussion point. It proves the point that some resident, at least one resident, anonymous or not, wants to address this issue, wants to talk about this issue in some way or form. So I am not really seeing the issue here with reading letters from our public. We can agree with it, disagree with it. That's our choice overall, whether we agree with a certain person making a commentary or not. We're all adults up here and we know when to discern. But I can see that if you want it read always during the agenda items, that we do it in a certain processed way. That's fine. It gives clarity to the board. We can add it to our board procedures. And maybe we make a special provision that we do ask the president at one time if we forgot or missed that particular letter, if we have the right to read it during that agenda item, and we go on that way. And that's what I would suggest.
Anyone else? Okay, is the board okay with taking that out then?
Yeah.
That section?
Taking,
President, clerk, or trustee may only read a letter into the record during reports. And just take that out, so that.
yeah, that can be
Everyone's
taken
okay
out,
with
yeah.
that? Trustee Kozar.
Yeah, I'm fine with taking that out, and I just think letters should be read at the appropriate time. If we're going to act as a proxy for
Correct.
one of our residents, we can absolutely do that, read it at the appropriate time.
Okay. Mayor Howard.
So just to clarify, Trustee Kozar, do you want something added to make it clear that letters from people who aren't at the meeting should be at the public comment period, right at the public? Okay.
Yes.
So that can be added.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay. We'll move on to item 16B is dog park discussion. Mayor Hartley.
I believe that Trustee Kozar has a presentation he wants to make, or he has with assistance from our staff about a potential dog park. And do you want me to vamp a little bit more for you to get ready? Or are you ready to go? Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
All right, So I want to thank Leslie CI for putting this together. She's much more creative than me. I would have just had black and white bullet points and it wouldn't have been very exciting. So thank you for that, Leslie. We have a underutilized park that is right at the connection of the Tri-Trail, which is basically Monterey and Kenilworth. It's called Rotary Park, and it's a big park. It used to be a baseball field. We've got a parking lot there. We've got a pagoda or gazebo, whatever we want to call that. We also have bathrooms. I'm not sure what shape those bathrooms are in because I've never actually seen them open. They were probably open when we had baseball and whatnot there. So we'd have to take a look at that. But, so here we have this underutilized park, and we have, as I walk around with my new puppy, and I'm guilty of adding to this, I think we have more dogs in Villa Park than we do people, quite possibly. But nevertheless, I mean, when I had my business over at Fuel, we allowed dogs on the patio, and everybody brought their dog, and it was fun and it was social, and quite frankly, I would remember the dogs before I would remember the people. And so I think that having a dog park in Villa Park would be a fun community social event. And I think it would separate us from other communities. And I think we can do this for very little or no cost. So because we already have a parking lot there, we don't need to make one. Because we have the gazebo there, we don't have to make one. Because we have the bathrooms there, we probably have some work to do on that. But we can get estimates and whatnot for it. So what we've prepared is just a quick rundown, and we can just kind of run through it. You need fencing, 4 to 6 feet of fencing around the entire perimeter. You need a kind of a double gated entrance so that you can walk in there with your dog, close it off, take the leash off, and then let your dog go run in the park. It would be nice to have a separate area for large and small dogs, you know, so the small dogs don't pick on the large dogs. Shaded areas, you know, we can simply, you know, have kind of those sunscreens or something like that over there. Some water stations. We have water presumably to the park because we have the bathrooms there. So, you know, the water hookup probably wouldn't be all that laborious to put in or expensive to put in. And then ground cover, a lot of them just have the actual turf, ground turf. So not much that we would have to do there. If we do need to put different types of pea gravel or something like that on there, we've got AK Mulch right next door, so I'm sure they could help us with that. Little things like different equipment, fun things to do. I'm not suggesting a splash pad, but some parks have that. Some benching and seating area, which we already have in the gazebo. You know, we could put a couple simple benches out there for people. And then, you know, some other things maybe down the road, little training zones, so on and so forth. The message boards. So if you go to the ballpark, there's advertising all over the ballpark on these big placards. I think we can sell advertising for businesses of all sorts, and that would be a great way to pull some funding. I think that we could have sponsorships as we kind of move along with it. I think we could start very basically, you know, and just kind of do the bare minimum. Just jump back for 1 second. No problem. So at the bottom of that page right there, every dog park that I've ever been to has charged a fee. So that would help to our funding and just for our maintenance costs. A lower fee, of course, for non-residents and a higher one for, I'm sorry, let me switch that up. A lower fee for residents and a higher one for non-residents. You know, extra fees for second dogs and so on and so forth. Not trying to make this an enforcement issue, you know, that our police department would have to do, but, you know, I think just a simple membership, and I think most people would honor that. So you can switch to the next one here. So banner sponsorships would be a way to bring in money. The little waste stations like we have, I know we have one on Myrtle that used to be right next to Fuel. It's a little garbage can for dog waste, and it's got the little baggies in it. People could definitely sponsor those. They could sponsor the benches and the shade structures with their names on it. And we could have various events that could be kind of fun. You know, on a weekend or something like that, we have dog agility contests, or we have, best of show, or I don't know. I mean, just, we could have little fun community events with it. Dog parks are cool because of the community event. It's not just about exercising your dog, but while your dog's running around, you're meeting your neighbor and the people in your neighborhood who have dogs or similar dogs, and you have play dates and stuff like that. And it's a good way for the community to come together and meet one another. Again, more sponsorships with the water stations and the placards on the fence. So, not only our local businesses could advertise in there, but you've got, PetSmart right down on 83. Your larger pet stores, all your groomers, your veterinarians, your pet insurance companies, dog trainers, boarding facilities, real estate agents. I see there was a sign on Ardmore for the longest time, and it was a woman with her big Great Dane standing up, and that was her advertising for real estate. So we could get real estate agents, cafes and breweries, animal shelters, pet adoption agencies, things like that. So I think this is a good thing to explore. I'm not saying that we have to write a check today and get going on it, but I wanted to approach the idea to the board and the community at large. And perhaps we can put if not a commission, but maybe a small committee together to kind of price these things out and see what the interest from the community might be, see what the potential sponsorship ability might be, what our costs would be. I don't want to burden Parks and Rec with it, because I think that it should just be its own little entity. If we're going to try to do it for little or no money coming from the village, I think that there's enough enthusiastic dog owners in town, that might want to form a little committee, and maybe, we could periodically meet at the Kubota, or the, whatever we're calling that little space over there at the park, over at Rotary Park, the gazebo. And we could meet there now that the weather is breaking and it's going to be nice. We could meet there every couple weeks or so and try to hash all this out, and then come back to the board with a proposal of what our costs would be and how we're going to raise those funds. So to that end, and I know there's other trustees that want to comment on this, my email is trusteekozar@invillapark.com. If, as a community member, you might be interested in forming a committee with me, to explore this, please send me an email, and I would love to continue that conversation. Those are my thoughts.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any trustee comments? Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I think that a dog park in Villa Park is a fantastic idea. I see that there would be a need for it. As a resident who lives right across the street from there, I don't know that that is the location for it, because that is where we had flooding, and we would have Lake Wildwood and Lake Monterey. And the whole idea that I was told when we woke up in the morning and everything had been ripped out without us even knowing that everything was going to be ripped out. We recalled the village. We were told, oh, well, that's going to be the retention pond so that you don't have flooding anymore. And since that happened, they're not wrong. We don't have flooding on our block anymore. And that's pretty crucial. So that's what I have heard from the neighbors directly. I think that's going to be a really hard sell, and I can't support that in that neighborhood.
Trustee Kumar.
I'm not against a dog park in Villa Park, but there's a couple of things I want Villa Park to consider. First, the areas, if you ask AI, which I do sometimes, it needs to be an area that's easily accessible, away from residential property lines, and well-drained. Wildwood on the edge of that Rotary Park is not well drained for sure. It's meant to be a retention pond. With options of shaded and open areas that's required, a strong buffer zone between the dog park and other park uses. And since that's on the tri-trail, that wouldn't satisfy that as well. So that particular location, I do not think is ideal. We do have not much green space in Villa Park at this time. I know that the dog park idea came up when we talked about Lufkin. The issue at that time was similar. It was too close to residential. You need to find a space that is not so close to residential. We have to figure out the right space. The idea is great. I don't think the location is ideal. So it's something we have to think about. Now, Elmhurst recently has its own dog park, which they're going to be opening soon. They're in the process. They got a grant for that, and it's they spent $2.2 million on it. It's not cheap. It was done with a grant, and it's probably opening in a year or so. There is an option for us, dog park wise, to kind of contract with them because, as I know, Lombard contracts with Glen Ellen's dog park, and we could possibly contract with Elmhurst Dog Park because the location is very close to Villa Park. It's kind of in that combined area, and this might be a good chance to cross, connect with other villages and use amenities in a shared way.
Thank you. Trustee Corkery.
How much distance do you need from residential for a dog park?
At least a little bit because of the noise.
I don't.
Yeah,
I mean, parks are loud anyway.
Yeah.
You got kids playing. It's not going to be any louder than a playground. I'd like to see a dog park somewhere in Villa Park for sure. My mom takes her dog to a park in Oak Brook, which is it's quite nice, but I'm sure she'd rather have an option here in town. I don't know how much luck we're going to have finding anywhere to put a dog park that's not close to residential, because that is the whole town. But regardless of that, I would still absolutely like to see this go forward, because I think a dog park would be an amenity that a lot of people would use in this town. It's great for the dogs, and it's good for the people, too. A lot of benefits.
Okay, thanks. Okay, anyone here? Trustee Kozar.
Just a couple of quick things. I didn't really talk about our tri-trail connection, but we just spent a bunch of money and put a great path connection that goes right there. It's the Salt Creek Trail, the Prairie Path, and the Great Western. So in terms of access, I mean, you've got people all converging right in that area. Part of the plan, and all I'm suggesting is we talk about it and we come back with something more of a proposal. So, I just ask that the board keeps an open mind for it, and we can form a committee and we can talk about it. If we need a separation, that park is so big, a simple row of trees blocking the houses would make a considerable difference. There's a lot of land right there. We don't have to use the whole park for that. And I understand the flooding concern. If we get bad weather and we have flooding, that's just kind of a cost of the dog park, I mean, I'm not suggesting you take the dog for a swim, but, if you can't use the dog park for a couple of weeks throughout the summer, so be it. That's okay. It's still a nice use of the park, and you certainly couldn't put a ball field in a flood zone. So, what can you do? You can't put a playground in there. So instead of just having an empty park, let's utilize it and do something with it. Let's keep an open mind.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item 16C, the report on the traffic signal at Westmore Myers Road and High Ridge Road in Lombard, Illinois. Manager Harline.
So the concern was brought up at the last meeting, and I'd been talking to the police chief about it about the same time anyway. I think maybe just directly afterwards. But anyway, so that spurred us into action. Talked to the Scott Niehaus, who's village manager in Lombard, and we were able to work together. And they had already looked into the possibility of extending the light, which is under their control, at Westmore Myers and High Ridge. And after some observations the week prior. This last Friday, they adjusted the light again to have the 45-minute intervals for allowing a left turn off of High Ridge onto Westmore Myers to go to 45 seconds. And it was pretty busy, they found, on Thursday, a little bit less so on Friday. On Friday, we also had Villa Park Police Department at Ardmore to relieve traffic there. And I don't know what the attendance at the mosque, and also we had Willowbrook traffic on both days. I think that the both together seemed to relieve the traffic. They found they got to about 30 cars stacked on High Ridge at Westmore Myers on Thursday. That was down to about 15 on Friday. So I think that having both intersections attended to helped. We can continue to do that. There's a heavier usage of that street coming out of the mosque, especially on Fridays, especially during the season of Ramadan. We have, I believe, till the end of this month for that season. So that's our plan right now, is to continue to do that.
Okay, thank you. Question, Trustee Patrick.
Go ahead. I just have something else under new business I'd like to talk about. So.
Okay. Trustee Kozar.
So I've gotten reports back that things have been better. So what has occurred with the law enforcement directing some traffic has been good. It seems like the stoplight was changed right away. I don't know, but what I've heard is that Lombard has like a fiber optic system that they can just, from central command, they can change the stoplights, which is pretty cool. And they did that right away after a couple people sent letters over to them and talked with them. So that's great. Is there the ability to affect, I don't know if it's even deputizing or something, volunteers from the Islamic Foundation to direct traffic so that we can not burden our police staff with that?
Actually,
I mean, is that?
I can.
Question for our police chief.
Thank you for the question. The Islamic Foundation actually has a private company that assists them in traffic control as the vehicles leave the foundation. They also have volunteers that help them and assist with that endeavor. We're only dedicating one person, and it's for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and it does alleviate a lot of the pressure from the community at the foundation as well as the high school on Fridays.
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Did you want to go, or do you want to?
I would like to comment about that as well.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
One of the resources that we also have is there are CERT teams out there, Community Emergency Response Teams. Milton Township has the closest one. If we ever needed assistance or anything like that, we could always reach out to a CERT team that could provide traffic assistance, things like that. And we also have our new Police Explorer program as well that might be able to help out with some of those duties and big events. But we would just need a heads up before we implemented some of that. But those are some local community resources that we could lean on if need be.
Our cadet program, we'd have to train them on that first. I don't know if we've got to that topic yet, because every Wednesday we do meet, but I can make sure that we could step that up and have that part of their curriculum.
Thank you.
Trustee Kumar.
I just want to thank the police for taking the effort to do that. I think as someone who travels down that road, it was a real hassle getting stuck there at that light, you know, especially on Friday nights sometimes when it's especially religious. And I'm just thanking you guys for all you do and helping with also changing the light at this crucial time of religious importance.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. Okay. Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I feel like since we're kind of talking about planning in the future and like good ideas like a dog park and what have you, I just have a simple request of the board. I would like to request that the board hold an executive session at our next meeting to discuss potential eminent domain proceedings against the Hawthorne Project property on the north side. I really think our residents deserve better. I really do, and I think we need to start planning on how to clean that site up. I think this is something that I'd like to talk about in the executive session with the rest of the board.
The next meeting, we can evaluate.
Okay. Okay. Think about putting that on the agenda.
Okay.
Trustee Alfano.
Yes, I would also like to add something to new business, possibly next time, discussion on pausing liquor licenses that allow gaming. I know that we saw in our packet that we have some others coming up and asking. I'd like to explore and have discussion on that.
Okay. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we will go, no village commission reports, village clerk's report.
No report, thank you.
Okay, trustees report, we'll start on my left. Trustee Alfano.
Thank you. I want to welcome our newest fun Commissioner Carlos Jackson. He already attended one of our meetings. We're really excited to have him join us. I also had a couple of questions for our chief about some things that came up this week. And it has to do with some solicitation at nighttime and what constitutes solicitation. This comes from residents. We understand that like campaigns don't fall into solicitation, but if it's not coming from a campaign in particular and it's coming from like somebody we don't know, is that breaking the solicitation law?
Well, as you know, right, political solicitation is allowed as well as religious. They would have to apply to the village to have a solicitor's permit. And once they do that, then there's a certain time frame, and I would think that the evening hours would not be allowed.
Okay.
If you have that concern, call us and we'll check it out. Many times we have rogue solicitors come in in an area and try and get out as quickly as possible.
Yes. And that's, I think, what some residents have reached out to me expressing, saying they're just not comfortable with people coming at like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, just like dropping things off.
And we find them on occasion ourselves, so please just ask your constituents to call us. Yes.
Okay, sounds good. And then I also wanted to talk about safety, particularly as a trustee. I am starting to experience some things, and I did not experience this until recently, so I'm assuming that this it will go along with some of the things that residents are experiencing. What should we do? First of all, I don't believe that anybody should be coming to anybody's home, knocking on doors, dropping off sandwiches, dropping off anything that's not solicited, dropping off. I have had some weird things happening. I would think that my neighbors would be better than that. What do you think that we should do, or what would you advise us to do as trustees? What would you say to our neighbors who might be doing that? And how would you suggest that we keep our family safe? Because my family's pretty scared.
Understood. It's an excellent question. What I would recommend is that you do make a report in each one of these instances that happen. And then if any of our neighbors, we could do a canvass and check the different residences and ask if anybody saw anything. In one of the videos that we had looked at where something was delivered, I think we had a decent handle on who, or at least a description of who the person may be. It seems innocuous, the intention, but still it is frightening. We get that. But please make a report. We'll up our patrols in the areas of where everyone who's campaigning, we can do that as well. And any other ideas you may have, please, we're all ears to work on this issue together.
Okay, I appreciate that. I know my son will be happy to hear that, because it's pretty frightening when you wake up and you find like there's some scarecrow things that have been popping up. We have people taking pictures of our home. We have people who are coming up and just doing some strange stuff. So I will have him call 911 as well.
Understood.
Thank you. And then I do have thank you, Chief. That's all I have for you. I do have something I prepared for residents, because I do take my position here in this seat very seriously. So it is an honor to sit here and to serve the residents of Villa Park, and it is also a huge responsibility, and one that I do not take lightly. I think that it is important for our neighbors to know that many of us up here do take that responsibility just as seriously. I, for one, do my homework. I spend the time. I read the packet. I read it thoroughly. I read it a lot. I try to understand it. I ask hard questions, a lot of them here, because I think that it's important that I ask the questions for you. If I have them, I'm sure that many of you have them. I lose sleep over the decisions. I know I'm not alone in that. That needs to be made. I know that these decisions are going to affect our community. And I spend the time necessary to learn about the issues and listen to the residents. But that said, there are discussions that do need to take place here in public, like when petitioners come to the board for liquor licenses or the talks that we've had about developments. I believe that this is transparency, and I believe that these discussions need to happen here in this room. I'm not sure that all of my colleagues that are here with me feel the same. This is how I feel. If we want transparency, and our residents, I believe, do desire, they want to know what we are doing and what is happening in the decision process and the discussions that we have in that decision-making process, I encourage my colleagues here on the dais to refrain from independent Zoom calls, beard chats with developers or liquor license petitioners, sending emails fully supporting out-of-town business owners over residents. Be transparent. I met with a developer once early in my term, and I felt awful. It felt wrong. I felt it in every fiber of my being. It wasn't the best use of my time as a rep, and I learned that. I learned that the hard way. It wasn't the best move for the people of Villa Park who put their trust in me to make decisions for our village with care. And I decided that that wasn't going to be my style. And it isn't. It isn't now, and it won't be. I'm proud to sit on this board for almost 2 years. And our job here relies on residents to reach out to us. And that's where you come in. You at home, you here. I ask that you do your job and speak directly to us. The social media thing, it doesn't work. I'm not paying attention. I don't know that anybody else here is paying attention. We're not paying attention to social media. You want us to talk to us? Come talk to us. It's not as effective as having either a face-to-face conversation, coming over here, telling us all what you need to say, emailing us, asking us in an email us all. We're all listening. We're your neighbors. It's not scary. We're not going to do anything to you. I mean, it may be a little intimidating that you're standing, we're a little bit higher than you are here. We are kind of elevated, but we're just your neighbors. Come out. We're here to listen to you. I'm ready to listen. So please come, and we want to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Okay. Trustee Kumar.
I don't have anything to say today. Surprising, but yes.
Thank you. Trustee Corker.
No report this week.
Hey, Trustee Patrick.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Last Friday, I had the opportunity to volunteer at the local VFW Post 2801 for their annual fish fry event that goes on all month. It was a great opportunity to meet a lot of our neighbors, to get to have some really good conversations, and have some pretty good food as well. I just wanted to let everybody know that this Friday, March 14th at 5:30 p.m. will be the second night of their annual fish fry. They have lots of entertainment there as well. Downstairs, they have the Queen of Hearts game. They have everything else down there to entertain as a part of the venue. So 5:30, March 14th, VFW Post 2801. Come enjoy the fish fry. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Cordova.
No report.
Hey, Trustee Kozar.
Thank you. So a libelous email's been circulating from vptransparency@gmail.com about me from 2019, when I first opened Fuel and before I was a trustee. The email is unsigned and unaccountable. Ironic, considering the unsigned anonymous email comes from VP Transparency, not so transparent. In the letter, it states, "This isn't about politics, it's about ensuring that all our public officials are held to the same standard." It goes on to talk about the liquor license that I held and certain mistakes my manager made back in 2019, but the buck stops with me because I was the owner. I'll have it known that I was never found guilty of breaking any law with regard to my liquor license. I was not required to pay any fine regarding my liquor license, ever. The email libelously accuses me of not being accountable or transparent. So in response to that, I've requested the Orman Room at our public library on Wednesday, March 12th, from 6 to 8. I will be there as a trustee to answer any questions openly and honestly that anybody has. So please join me. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the village president's report, I just have a couple of things. One is our electronic recycling, which is scheduled for this Saturday. That will be canceled. Our electronic recycler has gone out of business or has closed shop. So right now, we are looking for a new vendor for that, and hopefully we'll have it by April, but definitely by spring sweep. But, so we'll keep you informed of that. Last week, I was invited to be on a little discussion with our Deputy Governor, Julianne Stratton, with a couple of other mayors from DuPage County, and we were discussing the proposed reorganizing of our transit system here, merging Metra, CTA, RTA, and PACE. It's a very good discussion. I don't know if residents have heard of this, but it's something that CTA, I think, is really pushing to do. And the idea behind DuPage managers and mayors getting involved with our deputy governor is to let her know DuPage County's concerns about that, and the collar counties, that we don't get pushed out by CTA, which tends to do things like that. They're looking for money, everybody's looking for money, but they're looking for a lot of it. But it was a very interesting discussion that we had, so it's something for, residents should keep an ear out for, and see how that progresses through our state legislature. And I want to share an email that the board got from our Fire Chief Stapleton. Firefighters James Marcello and Tom Sandino, there was a voicemail from a patient, actually, that they responded to. It was on mutual aid to Lombard, recognizing their professionalism, skill, and dedication, which truly exemplifies what it means to be a Villa Park Fire paramedic. So I'd just like to give a shout out to those two firefighter paramedics. They did a great job, and promote how our great first responders are in this town. So thank you to them, and thank you to our fire department and our police department, all our first responders. Thank you. Okay, you go to our village manager's report.
Well, you covered the one of the two things I was going to announce, but in an effort and having gotten feedback from the village residents, we have added another workshop for the comprehensive plan, or another open house for the comprehensive plan that will precede the meeting before the Planning and Zoning Commission. It'll be here in the Committee of the Whole room. I don't know, Mark, did you want to add anything else about it, or get a little bit more airtime so more people will stumble across this part of the meeting to discuss it, so that more people hear about this?
Sure, we've added an additional open house for the comprehensive plan. It'll be very similar to the first one, just another opportunity, another date if people were busy that first time. It starts at 6 o'clock. It'll be set up in the COW because we've got planning and zoning here starting at 7:30. So it's your natural segue, hear those comments, and then have the actual public hearing on the comprehensive plan immediately following. So 6 to 7:15, and then we'll begin the planning and zoning.
And what day is it?
That is Thursday.
Thursday.
The 13th.
Thank you.
6 p.m.
Okay.
Thank you.
And also included in your packet was the updated financial report, much more detailed, including all of the unaudited final numbers from the line items in the revenues for the general fund, the department totals for 2024 in the general fund, and then revenues and expenditures in each of the other funds. It'll be cleaned up a little bit more for the next meeting. There's also a quick overview by our Director of Finance, who is not here today. He had planned to be gone at this time. He is a regular attendee of spring training, and he is down in Florida watching, well, by now he's was watching the Mets and the Cardinals, and earlier today he was watching the Marlins and play, I can't remember who, but he managed to make a doubleheader today. But his report is there. I can answer some questions. And the other thing, we have had Lauterbach and Amen in-house to start the 2024 audit. So we had not hired a firm at this point last year because of some, because our previous auditor had wanted to increase the price, and we looked for another option. So we are months ahead of where we were last year, looking to get an audit to the board in an appropriate time, which would be July or August at the latest, as opposed to December or January when it was this year. So are there any questions about the report? That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, item 22A, executive session. Pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C1, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. And B, pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C2, collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representative, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. Do we have a motion to go into executive session, and then we will adjourn both executive session and our meeting at that point? Trustee Alfano, do we have a second? Trustee Cordova, do we have a second? Trustee Corkery? Okay. Clerk Konecki, please.
Trustee Patrick?
Yes.
Trustee Kumar?
Yes.
Trustee Alfano?
Yes.
Trustee Cordova?
Yes.
Trustee Corkery?
Yes.
Trustee Kozar?
Yes.
President Cassell?
Yes, so we will adjourn to executive session and adjourn our meeting out of there. And we will see you in 2 weeks on March 24th.